The pandemic and lockdown has meant various things for many of us. It has meant the rise of virtual worlds like this very Zoom meeting, which is taking place today, and Toastmasters moving online. Friendships and catch-ups and dinners and teas and coffee all moving into virtual worlds and cyberspaces. But for me, lockdown and the pandemic has meant rediscovering my old love of video gaming. In fact, there have even been times where I felt like a younger version of myself, like a 23-year-old nerd playing computer game in his bedroom for hours on end. But video games have in many ways made me the person I am today and shaped my life in so many different ways. I played my first video game when I was about 7 and 8 years old. Back then, I was fascinated about planes and trains and anything to do with transport. They just sparked my curiosity for some reason. And I got a really good game as a present. I got a game where I could build entire rail networks, airports and airlines from scratch, virtual corporate empires about trains and airline with dozens of lorries and trains and airplane bringing my bright blue colors, linking the cities and the industries of virtual worlds together, bringing goods and passengers, crisscrossing them from north to south and east to west. This game, I must have spent hundreds of hours on it, and I learned a lot by playing it. I learned that, well, in order to be successful in the game, you had to make more money than you were spending. You had to earn more than you were spending. And I actually became pretty good at this over the years. In fact, I became a virtual billionaire many times over in that game. A status that I'm yet to have replicated in reality, but I'm trying to work on it at the moment. I also learned that to think in system and to kind of appreciate the importance of logistics, that iron ore could be turned into steel, steel could be turned into consumer goods, and the consumer goods could be sold to cities for a big FT profit. And this game even taught me to read financial reports on the basis of accountings. And this is an habit that actually came up to be very handy in my corporate careers many years later. As I became older, I graduated to bigger types of games and even more complicated ones. There, you were the leader of a civilization from the dawn of time into the near future. You were responsible for absolutely everything. From humble beginning with one small village, having to build farm and learn how to agriculture and how to hunt animal, you had to expand your territories. And just like in the real world, wage war on your neighbors and try and get things of them, either through force, through cunning, or perhaps through careful diplomacy in some respect. And I actually kind of started to enjoy this game so much that I sometimes stayed until 3 a.m. in the morning as a teenager over the summer holidays, playing that games and just learning various things and mechanism. And I learned a lot by playing these series of games. I learned that in order for a country to be successful, you had to focus on building your base first, on becoming a leader with having the best technology, but also the best cities, and really investing in your people, in your research, in your social policies, and in your infrastructure, so that you became stronger and could withstand any invader. I learned that organization could expand wide by trying to take as much territory as possible and conquering as many places as possible, or could expand tall by building on their strengths over and over and over again. This game taught me the importance of planning and strategizing when you start with nothing but need more of everything. It taught me the importance of leveraging one's strengths to compensate for one's weaknesses. Recently, I started playing grand strategy game again. This is another a different type of game that is somewhat similar to the previous one, but with a few twists. There, you are responsible for leading a nation, could be an historical one or a fictional one, throughout a world war. In our universe, or perhaps in universe where history took a different turn, and the world war that we knew and familiar with ended up being won by the bad guys and not by the good guys. Will you make the world a better place, or will you live it in, or will you turn it into a nightmare of tyranny, of of the boot of oppression crushing liberty of our entire nation facing extermination? This is the choice that you, the player, have to make. And this game, it can be extremely overwhelming at times. You got to plan strategy, you got to think ahead, you got to manage your military, your industry, your research, your science, your culture, blah. And all the time, there are dozens of notifications blaring across the screen, so many that it's very easy to keep track of. But this game can teach you quite a lot. And you can even see the impact of your actions through the careful research that the creators have done and through kind of some stories within the game and in-game event that tells you this has worked well, your people are happy. This hasn't worked well. You have lost and you've been conquered. And whenever I play this game, I am reminded of the importance of decision making in leadership. The fact that the decision that we made can ripple across weeks, months, years, and sometime across entire generation even. I also kind of get to open my eyes to different perspective and understand that while the world we might live in is sometimes quite bad and challenging, things could have become a lot worse indeed had different choices been taken. Building virtual empires has taught me countless things and opened my eyes to many different perspectives, what made me the person I am today. Indirectly, I even credit video games for helping me being a leader in Toastmasters, especially when I was district director in the middle of the pandemic last year. And you, my dear player, what will you learn by building virtual empires? What will you learn by saving the world or turning it into a nightmare, perhaps? What will you learn? The choice is yours to find out. Mr. Contest Chair.